So therefore, I would suggest looking into the uniqueness of the revelation account of Judaism, the idea of God speaking to an entire nation, and from there try and figure out why is it that other religions did not use that same story. Isn't it very powerful? Isn't it very strong to say God spoke to the whole nation?
Oh, I'll give you one reason. They didn't need to. Christianity and Islam totally dwarf Judaism in terms of adherence, and they did it all without needing to have such a great story. Maybe the story isn't as powerful as you think.
My theory is, not my theory, but the theory of great Jewish philosophers is, that the reason they did not use that story is because it's too difficult to get people to believe in it.
No, it's not too difficult to get people to believe ridiculous things. People believe things way more ridiculous than that a multitude heard God speaking. There's actually no difference between a story saying 20 people saw something and saying 1 million people saw something, especially when it's not even clear what was seen, and there's no possible evidence either way.
Because there should be a lot of evidence left behind, social evidence. It is easy to get people to believe that God spoke to me in a cave, on a rooftop, on the road, or on the mountaintop. As long as I'm charismatic, convincing, I can convince people of that.
Sure, just like you can convince people that their distant ancestors were slaves in Egypt, or that Noah put all the world's animals in a boat, people are gullible. That's a fact.
Because there's no reason they shouldn't believe in it, no reason they should.
Of course there's a reason they shouldn't, because there's no evidence. If you say you just spoke to God, I'm just going to say you're nuts, because that's the most likely explanation. And you've given me no evidence whatsoever to think otherwise.
But to convince people that God spoke to you.
Well, no one has ever tried to convince me that God spoke to me. Has anyone convinced you that God spoke to you? So what are we talking about? If God goes around speaking to everyone, why are we looking for proof of this or that? He could just tell us.
And to all of us, right, at a mountain, 2 weeks ago, whatever it is, that's a rough thing to do.
Maybe it would be a rough thing to do, but it didn't happen, so why should I care?
And therefore, the Torah is the only religion that does make this claim, and that to me has to be developed further, but it's a convincing argument of the revelation of Sinai.
No, it's a crap argument. Because basically you are saying that I believe this story is true because I believe this story is true. And frankly, the very same argument could be made for the truth of Jesus feeding the 5,000 in Mark chapter 6, for example. Would Rabbi Becher say, wow, it's really difficult to pull off something on that scale. Must be that it actually happened. I don't think so. More likely he'd say, no, it's just a story that people told about feeding the 5,000. Did not actually happen that way.